Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Glad everybody's here. Hope you had a good day. Really nice day here today. Sunny and a little windy. Wasn't as hot as it was the day before. It was more like in the low 70s, which was nice because that's where I kind of like the temperature to stay all year round. But it was really nice, and I went down to Five Below and found a few things down there that I can use. You know, the thing about Five Below, at least the one here, is that a lot of the stuff in there really is, you know, for either, you know, young women or kids. Okay, there's really not a whole lot of stuff for guys in there, you know. There's a very limited thing that might, you know, I mean, they were selling like sandals in there, but only for women. They didn't have any for men, okay. They got shorts and clothes in there for women, not for men. So I'm like, well, you know, it's another situation in this area here where all the stores cater to a certain demographic and everybody else gets left out. I hate that. I mean, I think that's partially why the mall is pretty well dead, is because all the stores they kept putting in there were for teenagers, you know, and kids, and, you know, the adults never had a damn reason to go in there because there was nothing for them to buy. You know, and they used to have a variety when that mall first was there. You know, it first opened rather. They had a whole bunch of different stores for different needs and stuff, and now they don't, and they've lost some of those teenager geared stores already. I mean, there was American Eagle, they cut and run, and a whole lot of stores. I mean, they had, you know, like shoe stores and stuff like that. All of them are gone. Even the jewelry stores in there, I think one of them's already left. There's one left, but they're only open limited hours of the day. So, you know, it's really, you can't have a store that just caters to one thing and leaves out everybody else. I mean, I've said before, Maine is a state filled with elderly people. Okay, there's very few young people living in this state. They've already said that Maine has got the oldest population of all the states in the country. And that's because there's nothing here really for kids except, you know, go to college, get a job in another state. They don't stay here. There's nothing here for them. You know, there's no job that pays enough money to live in this fucking state, for one thing. Okay, they tax you right to death around here. Even businesses bitch about that. That's why they don't want to come up here and open a business, because they said the state taxes are too goddamn stiff, you know. So they can open up in upstate New York and save a whole lot of money. So there's that, you know. But yeah. So, you know, I went, like I said, I went to Five Below, and I was like, yeah. You know, and I'm surprised because there's a lot of stuff in there that's like way over $5. I was like, I thought they called this place Five Below. You know, no. It's more like five and everything else above, way above. Okay, so it's like you're not really saving, because they had this wagon, canvas wagon, I'm sure you've seen it because it collapses, folds like a suitcase almost, and you can open it up and it's got wheels. I can get one of those on Temu for like 15, no more than 20 bucks. They have some in there at Five Below, $35. I'm like, go fuck yourself. I can get this for way less than that. So there's stuff in, you gotta watch what you're buying, okay? People use, is it Shein and in Temu? Check that first before you buy something in there, because they may have it. That's probably where they get some of their stuff for Five Below, is probably from outlets like that, and they sell it at a profit. They raise the price so they can make a profit. So, you know, be thrifty, be smart when you're spending money. Don't just grab whatever you see and think, oh, I'm getting a bargain, because you may not be. You know, another store might have it less than that, you know. So anyway, there's this nice article here from the feed entitled MAGA just hit rock bottom. What do you mean they just hit rock bottom? I think MAGA's been on the bottom here for oh boy. How do you guys feel now in MAGA for owning the libs? Okay. 2 incumbent primary defeats across Red America on Tuesday showed without question that the Republican Party has truly become the party of Jeffrey Epstein. Blind, fervent, and humiliating devotion to Donald Trump has long been the most important currency in MAGA land, but Tuesday's primary election in Kentucky marked an exceptionally dark day for a Republican Party that just jettisoned its last molecule of principle, morality, and honor. In the most expensive House primary ever, with $32 million spent on TV ads alone, over $300 per vote, Representative Thomas Massie was chased out of his seat by a political nobody who was backed by a tidal wave of dark money and the blessing of Donald Trump, who has been waging a non-stop smear campaign against Massie ever since he took up the cause of releasing the Epstein files. Massie was one of the few Republicans willing to take a public stand to expose and prosecute the rich pedophiles in the Epstein files, a cause once central to the MAGA mindset. That is, until it was revealed that the pages were filled with references to and accusations against their dear leader. And so, at Trump's demand, voters immediately threw him out of office by a margin of 10 points. While it's a tired trope to point out that Republicans are hypocrites who stand for nothing, we are, once again, witnessing a new rock bottom with the Republicans firing one of their own for the sin of standing up to pedophiles. After years of complaining about the deep state, howling for the release of the Epstein files, buying stickers that say, quote, "kill your local pedophile," unquote, demanding no more wars in the Middle East, and claiming to stand for America first, MAGA voters were more than happy to pull the lever for an Epstein cover-up candidate who was propped up by tens of millions in out-of-state dark money from pro-Israel billionaires and AIPAC groups who opposed Massie's demands to end the Iran war and cut aid to Israel. Christ, he sounds like a guy I'd vote for. You know, he's a Republican. Christ, I might switch. Okay, the response from the elected MAGA faithful was disturbingly honest, pledging fealty and giving Trump the ass-kissing he so desperately craves. Of course, bootlicking MAGA foot soldiers paint a picture of Trump snapping his fingers, Thanos style, and poofing his Republican adversaries out of office. But that's not exactly right. All it took was Trump's word, tens of millions of dollars, and personal appearances from the President and the Secretary of Defense, all to defeat a fellow Republican who, by his own words, voted with Trump 91% of the time, all because he dared to oppose him on the Epstein files. Will any of them look back and say it was worth the expense? especially if, as predicted, voters exile the new Republican congressman into a powerless minority vote? Maybe. Because in the MAGA cult, nothing else matters as long as Trump is happy. They're happy. It is the ultimate submission of both mind and soul to Donald Trump over everything else, even accountability for serial child sex abusers. Just a few states away, a different political candidate was being rewarded for his loyalty to Trump, despite a recent scandal in which he protected a serial child rapist. And they have a link to that. Texas's wildly corrupt Attorney General, Ken Paxton, just gave a sweetheart deal to Adam Hoffman, a Waco lawyer who sexually abused a little boy for more than 3 years. This obviously meant nothing to Donald Trump, who was credibly accused of committing sexual crimes against children himself, and on the very same day Massey was thrown out of office, Trump endorsed Paxton in his race against incumbent Senator John Cornyn. Hoffman was facing life without parole, but Paxton swooped in with a sweetheart deal, reducing his sentence to a misdemeanor and giving him just 60 days in jail in exchange for pleading guilty. Quote, "My baby was in the 3rd grade when he started getting abused by this man," unquote, said the survivor's mother to the press. Quote, "6.5 of his 14 years have been spent in counseling," unquote. Republican voters are wildly expected to nominate Paxton in next week's primary election. The Republican Party is now well and truly the party of Epstein. Yeah, what can I say? That's the money in politics. This is what you get. This is what you get. Money in politics, right here. That ain't such a good thing, is it? Bernie Sanders was always telling us about that. You want an honest government, you want honest elections, you want to have good choices, you take that fucking money out of the system. You take it out. When you do that, you cleanse the system of these fucking perverts. These wealthy perverts, I should say. You won't have this problem where people with criminal records are sitting in the White House or in the Senate or in Congress. Okay? Because, like it or not, money talks. Bullshit walks, as my dad used to say. Okay? And it doesn't matter what crime you commit in life. If you got big backing with money and stuff, you can go anywhere in this country. I don't think the founding people who made this country meant it that way. I think that what they meant was that people should be able to achieve good things or whatever they want in life. But if you do wrong, you still have to answer for it. We do have laws, but you cannot use your money to skip around these laws as you feel necessary to do. Okay? That's not justice, and that goes totally against the whole principle of having a civilized society. Okay? I mean, when Joe Blow rapes, a bunch of kids and he goes to prison for life, Donald Trump does the same thing and he's sitting in the fucking White House. Now you tell me, is justice blind? I didn't think so. It's just... And you can thank the MAGA group out there for making that dream of theirs come true, to have pedophiles in the system. Thank you, MAGA. You just pissed on every fucking time that somebody you thought was a pedophile, that you would go out and have these big campaigns to get rid of the bastard. Okay? You people were supposed to be the party of morality. That's what you sold yourself as back in the 80s. The power of the party that has all the morality and all the ethical standards that everybody, the Democrats, should follow. And look, in such a short time, how far you've fallen. Because when you can't get your way, you're willing to sell your soul to the devil. In this case, Donald Trump, just to get your asses back in power. Okay? If that isn't some childish fucking tactic, I don't know what is. Okay? You can't win, okay, on the merits that you have, on the principles that you have. You can't win your seats because they're your ideas are unpopular. Nobody likes the ideas you have because we know where you're coming from. We know you're paid for by insurance companies oil companies. We know who you're defending. Okay, so we don't want to hear from you. We don't want to hear from you. And that pisses you off, your party, because that makes it that much harder for you to win. So what do? You redistrict states, you cheat, you fucking tamper with votes, you do all these fucking things to negate, you know, the majority's opinion, to take away from them what's right. The Democrats are the ones actually standing up for what's right and wrong now. Okay, you put that burden on us. But now you guys, you don't want that burden no more because you can't, you know, it's getting in the way. You want to play dirty, and if you play dirty, well, you got no morals. Okay, you lie, you cheat, you steal, you rape. Okay, crimes don't mean anything to you people now. So, in all respect, you're all aiding and abetting a criminal. So you all deserve to be put in jail for doing that. You know, your vote putting him in the White House was a criminal act on your part. You voted for a criminal. That's aiding and abetting so he could stay out of prison. So every one of you people that voted for Trump, you deserve to be joining him in prison for however long the sentence is for that. Okay? So, hey, I don't have to worry because I didn't vote for the guy. Didn't vote for him the first time, didn't vote for him the second or the third time. My hands are clean. Can you say that for yourself? Okay, this other article here from Daily Dose of Democracy, entitled, Republicans Expected to Abandon $1 billion Security Proposal for White House and Trump's Ballroom. That's kind of odd, isn't it, after considering that somebody tried to kill Trump at, what was it, that dinner or some fucking thing, press dinner. I can't remember what they call that. You know what it is, okay? Because that was all over the fucking news, okay? So now they want to cut the security proposal after this happened. I mean, that really, it's like, no, it should be the other way around, right? If they want to protect, but I guess some Republicans just don't want to. You know, they know they know the fucking thing was probably rigged or was a setup or some fucking thing, so they don't feel the imperative to spend more money on security for Trump. After the Senate parliamentarian ruled that Republicans could not include Trump's demand for $1 billion in ballroom funding in a reconciliation bill, the Senate GOP has elected to simply drop the issue despite Trump's furious demands. They fire her and do it anyway. After Trump helped defeat Senator Bill Cassidy in his primary and endorsed Senator John Cornyn's primary opponent, it turns out the senators are not super enthusiastic about fighting for the personal vanity projects of a demented old man who doesn't respect them at all. Wonder if there is a lesson there. Sure there is. There's a big lesson there. Okay? And Trump is the one that needs to learn it. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Okay, they got him into the White House, all right, and he's playing all these silly games, okay, for whatever reason is rattling around in his head, and I don't think his answer would actually make any sense to us anyway, because he can't seem to make a coherent sentence anymore. When the press asks him questions, he's rambling, you know, and he just, I don't know. It's tiresome to listen to him talk. It really is, because he doesn't ever make much sense. But, you know, he's pissed off a lot of Republicans, and now he's trying to primary the ones that ain't loyal to him anymore, okay, by throwing big money against them, like happened with Massey there, that I just read. So, you know, the Republican Party is fracturing, and, you know, they're all of them are scared, by the way, about how November could turn out. And I think that's what's pressuring these Republicans to either shit or get off the pot. You either stand with this man or you don't. They're weighing the pros and cons of either standing with him or not. And I think they're finding out that if you stay supportive with Trump, it could cost you your seat. Because the voters are pissed as all merry hell, worse than they've ever been, okay? And this is not looking good, you know? Let me say, like here in the state, Graham Plattner. He's got a 7 or 8 point lead over Senator Collins here. Now that's not much of a lead, because the last time she had to defend her seat, she had an opponent, and I can't remember her name, but she was ahead of her about 7 or 8 points, and she still lost against Susan Collins. That goes to show you just how much money gets dumped into the state so she can stay in the Senate. Okay? They want to keep that dirty diaper on even longer. So Graham Plattner is going to have to pull out further ahead. But at the same time, all kinds of new nasty commercials are coming out about Graham Plattner. Okay? They're playing, Collins's group is playing dirty as I've ever seen it. I've never seen it this bad. But they're basically throwing all the shit they can on Graham to see what sticks. Okay? And unfortunately, Graham is not retaliating, or at least answering some of that, which makes people scratch their head and wonder if he just doesn't want to talk about it because maybe it's true, the stuff they're saying about him. Maybe, he can't defend himself on that. And, if that's the case, then I would have to say, if that stuff is true, then I have to wonder about the reality that Graham actually was running. That he wasn't some kind of a plant by the right wing to have him run against somebody that can, run against Susan Collins and having her try to beat him. Things like that have happened. I mean, I'm trying to think of who it was. It was this black man that was running, and he didn't seem to have the intellect. And I can't remember, this was like years ago, but it was in some state, and everybody was laughing because he couldn't really answer questions, and he couldn't make himself clear, like he had something wrong with him. And he was running against an opponent who was clearly he was outclassed by, and he lost. But somebody said that they could have paid him to run against the other guy, so he would win. So, what if Graham Plattner, if all these things that they're saying about him are true, okay? And I don't know either way, because he hasn't said anything. At least I haven't heard him give any press report or anything like that about whether these accusations about what he said or did or like that is true. But if they're not true, then I have to say, well, this is just smear campaign. But if it is true, if these things he did say is true, then I have to wonder if he wasn't a plant just to make it easy for Susan Collins to win. Okay? It's possible. I mean, you know how dirty politics can get people. I mean, there's no limit. When somebody is desperate enough that they know they're going to lose the seat if they have to run against somebody and the state isn't really happy with you. I mean, and like I said, Collins is the bank for the Republican Party. She gets a lot of goddamn support from outside the state, and she also makes it possible for other candidates, Republican candidates, to keep their seats. Okay, she's like the medium, a flow of money that goes through her. That's why she's been there so long, even though she's aging herself out. She's still there because she's got the strings to pull to get people money. Okay. That's why she's down there. It ain't got a goddamn thing to do about representing the state. Maybe once in a while she might do something, just so that way later on she can brag about it in a campaign ad. But most of the time, she's doing all the wrong things. So, but like I said, this is what's going on with the Republican Party. I mean, they're going to use every trick in the book, people. You got to be careful this election. This is a very critical thing because Trump doesn't want to lose what he has already. Okay. But here I come back to this point. Why does he care? Why does he care who controls the House and the Senate? He does what he wants. Okay? He does what he wants, and he dares the courts to stop him. And up to now, the courts don't seem to really do much to stop him. Executive order after those executive orders can only be used for certain things. And I challenge all of you to read about that, to see where the lines are drawn. But, and I'm not going to say Trump is the only one that's ever done that. There's been other presidents before him that have used executive orders for matters that weren't considered emergencies or anything like that. He's done that. They've done that. But Trump is using that as his go-to in order to get everything he wants. If they won't support me, then I'll just go over their fucking heads. That's the way he thinks. Why? Because as a businessman, you don't have to answer to anybody. Okay? When you're the CEO of a company, your word is final. The other people on the board can bicker and argue all they want, but at the end of the day, it's your fucking word. That's, it's like the captain of a ship. Okay, they get the last word. Okay, I mean, and sometimes these people will revolt on the CEO or not. Well, he doesn't have to worry about that in the situation he's in, because he's got that power, the executive power, to enact things. And he's done so many of those things that, Christ, the court is flooded, with executive order after executive order to determine if they're legit or not. He's spitting them things out faster than anything. So, like I said, why the Republican Party is fretting over this so much, I don't know. Because he's already proven he doesn't need the Congress or the Senate to get what he wants. He's been getting what he wants. I mean, what about the ballroom? That's a good example. Didn't pass that by the Congress or anybody. He just went ahead and did it. Started digging up the property and everything, okay? This is how he works. Okay, so he doesn't... to say that, oh, well, if the Democrats get everything back, we will make him a lame duck. Like hell you will. Like fucking hell you will. Okay? First of all, you got to get back control of the Supreme Court, because all arguments end there. And who's running the Supreme Court, my friend? So you can have control of the Senate, you can have control of the House, okay? But if he's not going to listen to either of these places, then, you can take your problem to the Supreme Court and lose, and Trump wins. I hate to spell it out that way, but it's a pointless fight. And maybe in some way that's probably the reason why the Democrats have been so quiet, is because they know their hands are tied, maybe in that way, that they figure, well, if we try to fight it, they'll make sure it all goes to the Supreme Court, and they're the ones that's going to put a stop to the argument once and for all with their ruling, and we're just going to have to live with it. So they don't want to do that. They don't want to keep bringing these arguments to the Supreme Court, because you know how hard it is to undo a decision that a Supreme Court made, just like that abortion thing. I mean, the country fought like hell to get it, and then they overturned it, Roe v. Wade, and then look how long it's going to take us to get it back. You see what I'm saying? So maybe the Democrats are saying, well, we can't do anything. He's got his mitts in the goddamn Supreme Court, so every fight we bring to his desk, he's going to throw it over there, and they're going to back him. So I don't know. But like I said, the Republicans shouldn't be too upset. I mean, sure, even if they lose big, it still ain't going to matter. Not to Trump anyway. It might matter to the party, the Republican Party it might hurt, okay? But as far as Trump goes, it's just business as usual, So I don't know. Like I said, it's a very bizarre election time right now, and it's a very dangerous one too at the same, because we're seeing all kinds of nasty shenanigans going on here, cheating before the fact, and all kinds of ways to dilute the vote for the voters and stuff. I mean, do we live in Russia, for Christ's sake, now? I mean, what's next? Are they going to put armed guards at the fucking polling stations, and if they find out you're a Democrat, you get shot? I mean, is that what we're coming to now? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's like all the rules that we put in place for voting have just been, crumpled up and flushed down the toilet. They don't care anymore. All right? It's not a wonder you got the Black Panthers back out in business again. Okay? It's not a wonder. I mean, people are feeling like their voice is being threatened. They can't be heard. I mean, take a look at the celebrities there that Trump's kicked, like Stephen Colbert, I guess. Yeah, he had his last show, I guess, in you know, all because of Trump's big fucking ego that he can't stand when somebody insults him. Christ, every president before him could take it. What does that tell you about Trump? Such a fucking baby. Okay, so here's this other article here. U.S. indicts Cuba's Raul Castro on murder and conspiracy charges for downing of planes back in 1996. As the Trump administration continues to lazily build an incredibly contrived and obviously bullshit collection of justifications for an attack on Cuba, federal prosecutors unveiled a grand jury indictment against 94-year-old Raul Castro, the brother of Fidel Castro, over an incident 30 years ago in which the Cuban military shot down 2 planes that a CIA cutout group that was using to drop anti-government propaganda leaflets over Cuban territory. Raul Castro was not the president at the time, and Fidel Castro himself said in a later interview that it was him who had given the order to shoot the planes down. But none of that matters because this entire thing is a grim joke. So now it's not okay to just attack vehicles in the Caribbean. Yeah. No, Trump is doing this only to try to distract. Okay. And I have to say, look, that was 30 years ago. How many presidents have we had in the past 30 years? None of them took any issue with what happened. Why? Because, dropping leaflets in Cuba would be like flying a plane over Russia and dropping stuff there. Now, would you be surprised if that plane was shot down for doing that? I wouldn't be. And I think the people in the plane would have expected that. Okay? I mean, tensions between Cuba and the United States, have sometimes been eased, sometimes not. Okay? But for some reason, we still want to poke the lion all the time down there. We want to keep doing stuff. Why the CIA was, sitting doing this shit, I don't really know. I can't remember that far back to see why the hell they felt like dropping leaflets over there was the right thing to do. I mean, come on. I mean, if somebody was flying over the United States and dropping all kinds of pamphlets and leaflets and shit all over to try to tell us to revolt against our country, don't you think our government would have the right to shoot that fucking plane down? I mean, remember the fucking balloon that was flying over the United States from China, and shoot it down? Okay, why is it not okay for Cuba to do the same? Okay, I mean, we know it's a little communist country, so we should know better than to fuck with that. Just leave them alone. Why can't we just leave that fucking country alone? I mean, we wouldn't stick our dick in the wind over Russia and do the same thing because of the retaliation we'd get. But no, Cuba's 90 miles off the coast of Florida, and they're an easy target, and let's keep poking them, So I'm not saying that I'm pro-Cuban, okay, or their government, okay. I'm just saying expect a message sent back when you go and litter people's countries with shit, okay? Be like flying an airplane over and dropping 50 hefty bags all over people's lawns. I mean, Christ, they're gonna scream bloody murder there for that. So, nobody wants shit like that. I mean, that's so old-fashioned anyway. That's like, Christ, like World War I crap. I can't believe we were still doing that even back then. I mean, it's like, come on, guys. Leaflets, really? Jesus. Are we still in the Stone Age? I mean, is that the best the CIA? It's crazy. And we've always had people in Cuba, okay? The CIA has always got their noses in that fucking country. If there was any shit going on that required any action, we'd have known about it. But no. So I'm not saying that the CIA doing that, it means that the president at the time was are doing the wrong thing. Okay, the CIA has a habit of doing its own little thing whenever they want to, and some of that never gets the approval or even gets noticed by the people on the top. Okay, they run their organizations the way they're supposed to, which is secret, right? Because they can't out anybody. So they do their own thing. They have a mandate they follow, but the president really doesn't get all the info about what the CIA does. A different organization. FBI is different, but with them it's not the same. But like I said, I think Trump is taking this issue here with Raul Castro, who was not in charge of Cuba at the time, and using him as some kind of a scapegoat, I guess, to drive attention away from all this Epstein shit, and making Trump look like, oh, see, I'm for justice and and all this stuff, which of course is not true. It's just a show. He's good at that. Remember, he used to work the WWF there with Vince McMahon. Okay, he knows how to put on a fucking show. That's what this guy is. He's like a circus act, and everything that he does is always a double meaning. It never take what he's doing on the surface as legit, or that's what he means. No, he's doing all of this for himself. Okay, that's what he's doing. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Because I will tell you this, brother.
What?
I will tell you this. You raise your boys, I raise your boys.
You what? You erase my voice?
Whatever it is.
You erase my voice? Is that what you said? If I raise my voice, you'll erase my...
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Are you serious? You said if I raise my voice, you'll erase my voice?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Today we got something from Chernobyl that solves an important problem. Pumbaa never lets us feed Izuma meat. So we got the first ever pet feeder with AI face recognition. We got the meat for Izuma. Let's see if it works. Pumbaa is so desperate, but he can't get in. Now let's see if it works with Izuma. This device was so essential for Izuma. Now he can finally eat in peace. If you also have a multi-cat household, pet feeder from Chernobyl is a must. Link is in our bio.
DoorDash girl, the sneaky spy who brings the fries.
She delivers, she discovers, snap and share it all.
Press the crash out button and... I'm the victim! DoorDash girl, the villain next door.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, I got this article here from The Guardian, where it's talking about a video that shows ICE violently arresting an Oregon farm workers and using facial recognition. There's a picture. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Yeah, you see this guy right here. He's using his camera phone, I guess, you know, to ID somebody's face there with that. It's in the picture there. It says, body cam footage shared with The Guardian shows agents forced workers out of a van in what a judge has called unlawful arrest. Newly released footage shows that immigration officers stopped a van of farm workers in Oregon, smashing their windows and using facial recognition software to try to identify one of them. Videos from a October 30, 2025 operation were disclosed in court as part of an ongoing class action lawsuit challenging ICE arrest tactics and racial profiling by agents. Lawyers for one of the detained farm workers shared the footage with The Guardian. The officers did not have warrants to detain the workers, and the federal judge later said the arrest appeared to be unlawful and unjustified. The footage shows an agent using his phone to capture the face of one of the detained workers, and agents later admitted in court that they used a facial recognition app during the operation. The case provides a window into ICE's expanding use of this surveillance technology across the United States, which has raised significant privacy and civil liberties concerns, particularly since the app can yield inaccurate results. In the early morning on the day the footage was filmed, a team of ICE agents surveilled an apartment complex in Woodburn, a city south of Portland and home to many agricultural workers. An officer identified in court as JB later testified that the agents had chosen that location in part based on data surfaced from an ICE mobile app called Elite, which was built by the tech firm Palantir. The agent said the app helps officers find areas where they might find targets to potentially detain. Agents decided to follow a white van, leaving the apartment complex after running license plates and discovering the van's owner was potentially an immigrant in the United States without authorization. The officer said in court they did not confirm whether the driver of the van was in fact the vehicle's owner, but that he felt it was suspicious the driver was making multiple stops for passengers. Quote, "You don't know if it's human trafficking or smuggling," unquote. Lawyers with Innovation Law Lab, an immigrant rights nonprofit that filed the class action and represented one of the farm workers, said the van was simply carpooling to a job site. The body cam video starts when officers pull over the van. It was around 5:30 in the morning and still dark out. Lawyers shared footage with the occupant's face blurred to protect their privacy. Excuse me. Quote, "Bust it," unquote, one of the officers said, referring to the van's windows. An officer then shouted commands in Spanish to open the window, but within seconds shattered the van's side window before occupants could comply. A 45-year-old woman visible in the footage, identified as MGMA, is a farm worker and lead plaintiff in the lawsuit. The video captured her asserting her rights to remain silent, saying in Spanish, quote, "We don't have to answer," unquote, and indicating she wanted a lawyer. She also instructed the others in the car not to speak as she called 911. An officer identified in court as CM, whose body camera was recording the encounter, then said to another officer on the scene, quote, "She wants to lawyer up. She doesn't want to identify herself. We'll just take her," unquote. While MJMA was on the phone with 911, asking to speak to a Spanish-speaking dispatcher, an officer demanded she turn her phone off. When the woman didn't exit the car, CM said, quote, "We got to get them out. They're on the phone, making calls and stuff," unquote. He then grabbed MJMA and took her out of the car. As she said in Spanish, quote, "This can't happen to us. They're using force. No, no, no," unquote. The officer then broke her phone. She later testified. Then 7 occupants of the car were then detained, 6 handcuffed and forced to sit on the pavement lined up against a wall, and an older woman detained on a bench. Quote, "What a lovely bunch of people," one of the officers shouted. As the farm worker sat along the wall, the video shows one agent pulling out his phone and holding it close to one man's face, while another officer shone a bright flashlight on the man's face. I showed you that little picture. That's what they're talking about. The agent held the phone up for about 12 seconds while the phone appeared to be scanning the man's image, scanning his face. Later in the video, one of the officers was heard saying, quote, "Mobile Fortify couldn't find him," unquote. Mobile Fortify is the Department of Homeland Security's DHS facial recognition app, which officers use to scan the faces of individuals, cross-referencing it with various databases to try to identify them. DR, an agent involved in the Woodburn arrests, was asked about the app in court and acknowledged he didn't know what databases it used and didn't know the rate of accuracy, saying, quote, "I'm not certain on the technical aspects," unquote. A female agent on the scene, identified as MK, testified that she did a, quote, "facial recognition mobile query," unquote, on MJMA, which led to a match with a, quote, "very similar person," unquote. The agent, however, said, quote, "I wasn't sure if it was her or not," unquote. The match was a woman named Maria, the agent said. The agents then started saying the name, quote, "Maria," unquote, to see if MJMA might respond, but she didn't, the agent testified. The woman's name is not Maria. The agent did another facial scan of MJMA, and it came up with a different match, according to MK's testimony, but MJMA continued to stay silent. The agent testified that she believed MJMA, quote, "was in the country illegally," unquote, because she was only speaking Spanish, and due to the, quote, "possible match," unquote, from facial recognition, her scanning of MJMA was not caught on the body cam footage. During cross-examination, CM, the only agent who recorded body cam footage, acknowledged he did not know the identity of any passengers when the officers stopped the van. The agent, JB, also revealed in court that his team was given a verbal order to target 8 arrests per day, providing rare insight into DHS arrest quotas. 4 of the people detained from the van were later deported, according to a DHS spokesperson. Nelly Garcia Orielia, Innovation Law Lab staff attorney, said MJMA had an ongoing asylum case. U.S. Judge Mustafa Kasubai ruled against ICE in February in the class action suit led by MJMA. He said officers had engaged in quote-unquote misconduct in Oregon and issued a preliminary decision broadly restricting agents in the state from arresting people without warrants. Kasubai noted that officers had made inaccurate statements in the reports about the Woodburn encounter, including falsely saying MJMA had entered the U.S. unlawfully when she had arrived with a valid temporary visa. He said the claims of possible smuggling were unfounded and noted that ICE's reports inaccurately called the stop, quote, consensual. The judge was also critical of the officers' use of the facial recognition technology, saying it relied on data that, quote, can be inaccurate and produce individuals who are here in accordance with immigration laws, unquote. The judge further said that in the Woodburn stop, officers, quote, did not provide any meaningfully reasonable time for the driver to comply with his commands before shattering the driver's side window, unquote. DHS did not respond to questions about the officers' use of facial recognition during the arrest, but a spokesperson said in a statement that Mobile Fortify was a, quote, lawful law enforcement tool developed under the Trump administration, there you go, to support accurate identity and immigration status verification during enforcement operations, unquote. The app queries, quote, limited, quote, unquote, immigration data sets from Customs and Border Protection and, quote, operates with a deliberately high matching threshold, unquote, the spokesperson said. The app is used, quote, in accordance with all applicable legal authorities, unquote. The statement added the Elite app, the spokesperson said, quote, centralizes information, unquote, from multiple federal agencies, allowing officers in the field to check individuals' immigration status and criminal records. The DHS spokesperson further defended ICE's practice of arresting people without warrants, saying, quote, officers use reasonable suspicion to investigate immigration status and probable cause to make arrests, unquote, and that it had the support of the U.S. Supreme Court. Another Trump advocate. Okay. The statement said the 7 people detained in Woodburn were undocumented and 3 of the workers who were deported had, quote, accepted voluntary departure, unquote. Those removed, the statement said, received full due process. The Department of Justice did not respond to inquiries about the case. No shit. Garcia Oruela said the videos showed the brutality of ICE's arrest strategies, with agents immediately smashing windows and bypassing people's fundamental legal protections. Quote, MJMA asserted her right to remain silent and was advising the other passengers in the car. The officers didn't like that. It makes them do their job, unquote, she added. Quote, you have to know what you're targeting before you arrest somebody. That is how due process works, unquote. Stephen Manning, Innovation Law Labs executive director, said the footage illustrated ICE's arrest first, justify later tactics and praised MJMA for calmly defending her rights. Quote, she knew the law better than the agents. She asked them to follow the law, and they actually violated the law in response. This never should have happened, unquote. It's pretty bad when it's up to the citizens now in this country to become lawyers in order to defend themselves against these fucking people. Okay? They're using technology. Look, they say that every person has somebody in this country that kind of looks like you. Okay? I get that a lot from people when I go someplace. They say, are you the same guy that, or you look like this fellow I met? How many of you people have run across somebody saying that to you? I bet you have, somebody. So, you know, it's not inconceivable that, you know, this, whatever technology this is, AI or whatever it is, can get it wrong, because a computer doesn't understand the nuances of a face or the differences. It just takes, you know, certain patterns, you know, and then spits out a name or an image. This is him, okay? It doesn't have eyeballs. It can't see, okay? It scans. You ever go to like a fucking checkout at a grocery store, at a self-checkout thing, and you're trying to scan something and it doesn't scan? That's about the same. Well, I'm not going to say that's about as reliable as this thing here, but I'm just going to say technology isn't perfect. And if you're going to use that, you know, in this kind of situation, which it shouldn't be. This is not a video game, people. When you're doing stuff like this should be treated with all legal apparatuses available, and substituting technology for human thinking in this situation is reckless. Okay, it's another way of saying they're cutting corners to save money. Okay, so they come up with this, and of course everybody that's created it's going to say, yeah, it's 100%. Of course they're going to say that, but they're trying to defend their product. Because if it fails, then they failed, and then someone's head's got to roll, right? So they're going to defend it. So people that, you know, get pulled over or get chased down by ICE and they scan your face and stuff like that, and you know you're innocent, and they say you're not, then that fucking thing screwed up. It's confused you for somebody else, like we do often. You know, from a distance, we see somebody and we swear to God, you know, that was you. Get closer. You'll see it wasn't. You know, the computer's making that mistake. It can't, I mean, a lot of the pictures that they're probably comparing to were probably not that great. The quality wasn't that great. I mean, some of these pictures go back before, you know, the capture quality of an image is where it is today. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, you know, it's hard to explain. But an old picture isn't going to match up with a new picture so much because, well, you're getting older or something like that. And that damn computer may not see that. It may not recognize the difference, okay? So it's technology that needs to go back to the drawing board, okay? I mean, even AI, for all that you see on online, people doing stuff with AI, you can tell, if you look closely enough, you can tell when it's AI and it's not the real thing. Okay, you can tell. So the human eye can discern more detail than a fucking computer can. Keep that in mind. So it's sad that, you know, that we have organizations out there putting their faith in technology that really never got a chance to be proven, and you got people sitting there arguing for it, and it was ushered in under Trump, right? So, you know, it's funny, you know, everything that's come out under him has been a disaster, okay, and this is no different, okay? It's one thing to use that to try to identify somebody if they're not giving you their license or something like that. You know, it would speed up the process. You know, because sometimes, you know, a cop pulls over somebody and they refuse to give their license. They got to take them to the headquarters, book them as a John Doe or a Jane Doe or something like that, and they have to go through the process of finding out who that is with fingerprints and everything. Well, they're trying to cut that, streamline that by using your phone to take a picture of your face and see if it matches up with somebody in a database. Okay, it's like, come on, you know. There's a reason why we do it the other way, because it's more accurate. Fingerprints don't lie, but these ICE agents can't fingerprint people on the spot. At least they can't right now. But maybe they should have done that at the beginning instead of going with the face. Maybe doing something on the phone they got or whatever, put your thumb on there, take their, you know, and maybe that would identify them in a much more accurate way than a goddamn facial scan, which could look like anybody, you know. well, not anybody, but look like somebody that isn't you, you know, because you share similar structure, facial structure, you know. But yeah, you know, it's sad that we have so much shit going on. I don't know. You know, every day it's always something new. I mean, I get tired of it. I mean, that's why I don't do as many videos in a week as I used to, because it's so fucking depressing listening into the shit that comes out from this this fucking White House, to listen to the crap from his minions that you know they're lying, you know he's lying, and if he's lying, they're gonna lie. Okay? And they feel perfectly comfortable lying to your face. I mean, in that regard, that I suppose that ain't new. I guess you could say almost every presidential administration has an interest in covering its ass whenever they screw up or do something. But to this level, never. Almost, I mean, you pick any president you want in the past, and they will never match the weekly fucking amount of shit that goes on that's wrong. I mean, this is insane. And the fact that, you know, so much of it is gone, not under the radar. It's in your face. They don't even try to hide it, but it's in your face, and they get away with it. It's like all of a sudden that issue disappears, and here comes a new one, and then 2 days later that one's gone, and here comes another one. You know what I'm saying? It's that fast. You can't keep up with it. I mean, I'm constantly getting updates, news updates all the time from various sites, some 3 or 4 times a day now, because there's always something breaking all the time. And it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, who the hell can put the brakes on this motherfucker anyway? You know, nobody has a chance to take a fucking breath to even digest the magnitude of the crimes and illegalities that he's committing while he's been in there. I mean, Jesus, you know how many fucking movies they'd have to make to cover this man's presidential history? I mean, one movie ain't gonna cover half of it, not even a quarter of it, okay? You'd have to have a series, an 8-year series about this son of a bitch in order to divulge the truth about everything that he's been doing. Because you not only got to cover him, but all the backstories that went along with him, that put him in this situation. I mean, this could go on for a long time. I shudder to think about how future generations are going to be able to sum it all up, because they're not living through this. Okay? They're not living through this, so they don't have a comparison of a time when it wasn't like this, like I do. I remember years before this, how it was. Yeah, we had frustrating times with our public leaders in the past, but this fucking one takes the cake. Okay, this is the worst we've ever seen it in this country. And I ain't bragging, and I'm not, blowing this out of proportion. Most people will agree with me on that. I've talked to a lot of folks about it, and they all feel the same. This is nothing like we've ever seen before. It's historic in its magnitude. Okay? And this happening at the 250th birthday of this country, something is going on. Okay? I'm not saying there's like a, I'm just saying that there's a pattern here. Okay? And having all this happen at this point in time in American history, it just seems like something we're being set up for something later on. You know what I'm saying? Like something bad is coming around the corner here. It could be the demise of our country that we could be seeing in a very short time. It could happen, slowly. It could happen quickly. It can be violent, or it could be basically just states leaving the union. Okay, in that regard, nobody wants to pay federal income tax because they don't agree with the government anymore. It could be like that. There's many ways that this can end our country here. So, I mean, as we celebrate, the holidays that come up, you know, like 4th of July and all that, just keep in mind why we're celebrating those things, and why we honor the veterans. Okay, because there was love for this country at a time, and people were willing to give their life to defend it. You don't hear that anymore, not from the veterans that I know, and certainly not from the young people that I know. Okay, I know recruitment in the service is down, and I can't say I blame them for people not wanting to join the military right now. I wouldn't either. Even if it was the only way to get out from under my parents' thumb, the military will be the last place to go, because Trump has no regard for the military. He hates the military. Okay, he hates the veterans. He has no respect for them either. He was not raised to respect anything, but you know, but money. Money's all that he kisses. Okay, and veterans have nothing to give him. So having that kind of a leader who's not representing our country, who's not representing us, I mean, when the corruption is at that level, at the top, people, the flag is coming down. Okay, you know what I'm saying? The flag is coming down, and not in a good way. And I don't know what it would take to get people to be patriotic anymore. I don't know. I mean, we're all spoiled, I think. The young people especially. We're spoiled with our gadgets. We weren't raised to respect the country. I mean, my father hated this country because of what happened in Vietnam with him. He was mad as hell about it, and he always pissed on the country. So I grew up with that attitude. But unfortunately for him, you know, I learned differently. Spending, you know, reading more history, being in the military, learning to respect the country better for what it was standing for in the past, and wanting to see it return to that. Okay, and I can see how people can be very skeptical, you know, about the future of our country right now, where it's going. But you know, I feel like it's this, you know, all this bad blood in this country that's happened in the 20th century, now coming into the 21st century. I think it's all come to a head. All the corruption, all the moral and ethical lines crossed. You know, you see the deterioration of the families in our homes and stuff, where people are just they're focused on distractions and not on issues that matter. And I see that happening, and I say, you know, all this points to a direction where we're headed, and it's not a good outcome. I don't think we're going to see the United States stand much longer the way it's going now. And it really is up to all of us. We either, like my dad used to say, shit or get off the pot. You know, you got a choice. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for health issues. Still got that Ebola shit going on here. And the, what's that other one? I can't remember now. There's another little virus bugging everybody. So yeah, keep your ears open for that. You know, and don't feel like wearing a mask is a bad idea. Okay. Actually, I praise people who do have colds and they still wear a mask, and I say thank you for that. Okay, we should all get in the habit of that, you know, and keep up with washing our hands and stuff. So help each other out there. People need that, and I'll talk to you guys later. So take care.